This is Strictly Business, presented by the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. Sponsored in part by the law offices of Young Wooldridge, San Joaquin Community Hospital. And now, here's your host, Cindy Pollard, President and CEO of the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce.
I am joined here by Greg Gallion, and if any of you know Greg Gallion personally, you know why I am laughing. Welcome back. This spotlight is on Houchin Community Blood Bank today, and Greg is here to chat about employment or workplace-based donation programs and their importance to the region. Good morning.
Exactly. Hello, Cindy.
Welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on your show.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Start out by telling us a little bit about Houchin Community Blood Bank for anybody out there who may not be familiar.
Right.
You've been around a long time,
Right.
and you've recently, a couple of years ago, moved into a new large location.
We did. Large location in the Southwest. Back in 1951 is when Houchin got its first start in Bakersfield, and that was probably out of desperation. There were some doctors and people whose family members needed blood products, and they were having to get it from San Francisco or Los Angeles. And if you knew back in the 50s, 60s, and probably early 70s, a trip over the Grapevine was a pretty difficult trip indeed, to say the least. So they got together and worked with Elmer Houchin, who donated the land, built the facility. Fast forward to 2012. Still a vibrant, strong blood center. Bill Bolthouse and the Bolthouse Foundation donated property to us in the Southwest, which is where we built the Bolthouse Donor Center, and manufacturing in our entire facility is housed out at 11515 Bolthouse Drive in the Seven Oaks Business Plaza off of Buena Vista.
And it's a fabulous campus.
Yes.
It's
We
beautiful.
encourage everybody to come out. We still have our Truxton facility, of course. That's still there, and still very, very vibrant and strong facility.
Okay. So what is an employment or workplace-based donation program?
Well, I think it's just all part of community outreach. I mean, we're here to serve the citizens of Bakersfield and the community, and we all know as time goes on, as we are more electronically connected, as we are in the cloud and in the internet, and we got the smartphone and the iPhone and the pad and we've got the whole...
And all the smart users for the smart devices.
Exactly. And so we've grown so dependent upon those levels of communication. But in the workplace, the demands in the workplace, and as busy and connected as people are, they are less likely to want to physically get up during the course of a day and go to a fixed site center. So we create an atmosphere of outreach, if you will, from our mobile systems to where we get the support of the business community. High school is certainly a big part of it. Oil companies, retail outlets, service centers, and we will go to them.
Okay, so can any company become a workplace
Yes.
donor site?
Sure.
What do they need to do?
Well, the qualifications are really pretty simple. I mean, we want to reach out to anybody and everybody, but like any organization, we're no different. We certainly have cost constraints. It's very expensive to operate a mobile application to a business site in terms of staffing, the mobile, the fuel, the supplies, all of what it takes. So we would ask people to at least try to get 25 people committed to donate, which would mean they would have to get maybe 30 to 35 people to sign up at their workplace with which to donate, because that's what we have figured to be our cost to operate would be at least those 25 units. Now, if they don't have a facility that's large enough, then we would encourage them, a coordinator within that organization, to scout the surrounding areas and try to get other of like-size organizations and businesses to band together to hold a blood drive. And, of course, we'll reach out to them gladly.
Okay, and that was going to be my next question. If you've got, small little offices or small companies located, but they're interested in doing a
bet.
drive if they could group up with others around. And
Right.
Do
And
you see that often?
You bet. It creates a certain amount of camaraderie amongst the businesses in that area. So if you had a small shopping center, if you had all of the retailers that band together, and it is a commitment on behalf of the employer
Sure.
to allow their employees the privilege of donating a unit of blood to the community.
Okay.
We're really asking the employer who is making the sacrifice, because generally that employee is on the clock
On
and
company
being
time,
paid.
right.
But yet it's such a strong connection from that employer to encourage their employees to donate, to give back to the community of which they're selling their products to.
Sure,
So it
sure.
does show a commitment to community growth, to community alliance, and certainly to the supporting of the commitment of life, which is what donating does.
Right. And how much time away from, their actual job would it take for an employee who is
Right.
going to donate?
Well, given the efficiencies of the blood center, which I would like to think that we're a rather efficient
Absolutely.
organization in terms
Absolutely.
of we've got the right amount of staff allocated to justify the cost per unit. We have an average bed turnover rate for our donors. So I would say it's pretty well achievable within 45 minutes to
Okay.
an hour.
Okay.
Is about all it would take to accomplish that.
So not long at all.
No.
So do you know what role the employer-based programs play in your overall collection? I mean, is there a percentage?
Well, I will say that if you want to equate, which I'll divert just a little bit from your question, and look at high schools, for example. Right now we're in the middle of high school. High schools have just started. They're our single largest donor base during the high
Wow.
school year.
Wow.
We estimate that they're roughly in the mid 30% of the total blood supply for all of Kern County during high school. So they play a very significant role
Wow.
to the success of transfusions that are needed in our local hospitals. As far
That's
as the
students as well as faculty and staff?
Yes, but
Okay.
primarily students.
Wow.
We have a very aggressive ambassadorial program at each of the high schools where we get. We used to have the instructors and the adults that were in charge of the blood center and or the blood drives at the high schools, and needless to say, they were not as effective. When we took it out of the hands of the adults and gave it to the kids,
Gave it to the students? They did it,
exactly. I mean, it just
took off.
It
Yeah.
took off, yeah. And now we can go to a high school and get anywhere from 75 to
Wow.
100 units in a given day.
That's amazing.
Starting at 8 o'clock and concluding at 3. And of course, the students are getting extra credits and get time away from their classes to donate. As far as the employer is concerned, if we did not have an aggressive mobile application for this community, our blood supply would truly be in peril.
Wow.
We just don't get enough people at our facilities to keep pace with the demands. Even though we have seen recently a decline in the request for blood products, we still struggle with meeting the demand. So the employer, by committing their organization, not only are committing to save lives and be a part of that life-saving process, they're also, in essence, committing back to their community.
Absolutely.
Because we try to do cross-promoting through Facebook and Twitter, and we have a substantial Facebook following, as well as extensive email list that we get out and promote those businesses
great.
to all of our past donors and past businesses. So
Right.
it's really a networking opportunity that we provide that employer that commits. So there's a little added value given back to them. Now, as far as getting tax credits or deductions for employees' time off, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how all of that works. That would have to be up to the accountants and CPAs.
Okay. So how can an employer encourage an employee to participate without pressuring them?
Well, that's always a hard thing
Right,
because it's
right.
an individual decision. I think most of it would be to find somebody, obviously, that has been touched by the need
Sure.
to donate blood, or the recipient or a family member, because then they have a vested interest in the process. But if you have that, then you have a higher level of commitment, and then you get that level of excitement that really within the workplace helps find the threshold.
Absolutely.
Because everybody has a reason why they can't donate.
Right.
Afraid of needles. I'm taking this. I'm taking that. And so if you find the right threshold within anybody in the workplace, then they'll be more compelled to donate. That threshold is if they have a mother, brother, sister, father, child that may have needed blood, or what if. I think it's always the what if.
What if, right.
That we never count for, but the what if invariably will happen and touch each one of us.
Right.
If your family member needed blood, suddenly your threshold has just been dropped substantially,
Right,
and the
right.
sense of urgency is a little bit higher
Right.
on the meter.
Right. So if a company out there is
Yep.
looking to have a drive,
Right, you bet.
what do they need to do?
I think the first thing is to maybe assess from their work environment what the receptivity is. I
Okay.
mean, if the employer is receptive but the staff are not, then
It's not gonna work.
Ain't gonna work. You always have to get that staff buy-off before you
Right.
can implement anything. But then it's just to contact the blood bank and schedule a time that's appropriate for them, for us to
Okay.
come out, as
Okay.
well as for us, because we do have an aggressive mobile program, so
Okay.
we are often booked up months and months in advance.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
If somebody can express the interest, gets in the queue, they simply call 323-4222, ask for community development, and we will take care of the balance. And we also have community development officers that will work with those respective businesses to determine
Okay.
the viability of the drive.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Greg, thanks so
Good.
much for being here this morning.
Cindy, always good to be with you. You know that.
I always enjoy talking to you. I'm
Exactly.
Cindy Pollard with the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. You're watching Strictly Business. We're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll be at the closing bell. Stay with us.